Today, we're looking at a red ink by Waterman Audacious Red. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. As always, there's timestamps down below in the description, so if you're in a hurry, you can skip around. But if you got the time, I would appreciate you checking out the entire video. You can also follow me over on Instagram, and if you're new here and like fountain pen ink reviews, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put it into this Nimicine Singularity with a fine nib. I write with it for a day, then use it to take the notes for this video. This first writing sample is done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Additional papers will show up later. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this up in sample form, so it comes in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 8 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine or the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, and we didn't get it. Tomoe River. No bleeding. Not too bad for the Tomoe River ghosting, much less than normal. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 12 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any. And Rhodia. No bleeding or ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. Extra fine is the same tone as the stub. No feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. 9 seconds to dry. The medium is still darker than the extra fine or the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both still show us no color variation because it still doesn't have any. I agree with Vita. I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this is a good prime red. It pushes its way up, light at the bottom, dark at the top, as we've seen plenty of these prime reds do in the chromatographies. Now the one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And truly, if I did not mark it, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two of them. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I go straight to the capital H and the I, where there's a lot of blowout, and it really does start to degrade some of the writing. Now, I wouldn't use this in a note-taking situation if I was to go back and highlight, just for that reason. Water is completely reactivating and lifting this off the paper, only 30 seconds, and we're starting to see the white of the paper come through, which means you don't need anything more than water to get this out of your pen. Pen flush does do a little faster than water. I just don't think you're going to need to go that route. In the 1/3 bleach solution that you don't need, that completely obliterates it. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. I'm also linking a video that shows how I do my testing and my calculations. Waterman's Audacious Red has a viscosity of 1.89, making this a wet ink. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. I find this by using my writing samples that were done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Waterman's Audacious Red has an average dry time of 12 seconds, making this a faster drying ink. Instead of finding inks that look like Waterman's Audacious Red, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I wanted to go with a nice blue-black Diamine Registar's blue-black, which is really more of a gray to write with. The second writing sample is done on G. Lalo, Original Crown Mill, and Limone paper. Here we're looking at G Lalo of really nice gray laid paper. Now we get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. We're seeing this a lot with this, right? See how this is going? Extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium nib is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 8 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation because there isn't any. Original Crown Mill. Nice laid paper, no bleeding, no ghosting, great correspondence paper. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. I'm looking at this and I'm going to draw my attention back to it, your attention back to it. This is not feathering that's going on with the letter D. What that is that's the ink moving because of the texture of the paper, that the way it's laid. It's not feathering that's there. It's the ink moving into a not smooth surface. That's why I'm not calling it in that way. Now the medium is darker than the extra fine. It's a tad darker than the stub. No feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 8 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation, and we don't get any. And last up is Limone paper, a paper that has had trouble with a lot of fountain pen inks and done very well with others, and I expected it to do well with this, and it did, with no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. Now the extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 4 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation because it doesn't give us color variation, and that is all that I have for the writing samples. So what do I think of Waterman's Audacious Red? Like many red inks, it doesn't shade, which for me has become a positive thing. But the tone of this just doesn't feel quite right for me. To call it audacious at the tone that it's at, it is not bright enough for that kind of a name. It's not bad, it's very well behaved, as all Waterman inks tend to be. The tone just felt a little off, but they do have a red ink. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? A dry pen is going to make the ink look not as punchy on the page. I definitely preferred it from a medium flow, a medium or broad pen. I found the tone most pleasant there. I do new ink reviews every single day, so if you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.